Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, little tutorial on All the Mods 9. This is the standard All the Mods 9, not the Skyblock. This is going to be a quick basic run over Applied Energistics 2. Now I've seen a few comments on some of my videos about the fact that I showed off refined storage here that was able to store items in functional storage without having any drives, which is a really simple thing to do. I will link the video in the description and also up in the cards in the top for you to go and have a little look, if you're going to go down refined storage route, of course. It is the basic, simple, very easy to get on with storage system. It is what I would call plug and play. You pop a thing down, it works, it goes, no problem. Their exporters are easy, their crafters are easy, everything's easy. So it's what most people choose. However, if you want a lot more control over your crafting, with where your storage buses are going, with auto crafting, with being able to put pattern providers on top of machines easy, Applied Energistics is the way to go. I also like the fact that the blocks are really interesting to look at. I mean, the controller just is going all sorts of disco mode. And you can build every sorts of variations of Applied Energistic controllers. You could just have one block. Of course, you only then get, was it 3, 4, 5 sides, because the bottom will need power or the side will need power. So you don't get the full range of the sides, but you can just run with one block. The more the better. There is a max size. I will put it as a screen text now of the maximum size you can have of these controllers. But a lot of people shy away from Applied Energistics because of the complexity of how it runs, and what you need and how you need it and all the other jazz that goes along with it. But the developers have been amazing at simplifying things. Loads and loads of documentation on the actual page itself. So if we go to @applied, so some of these have a C. So what did I find that had a G on it? I think it was charger, maybe. Oh, did it again. Charger, maybe. Yeah, G. So I can always tell you that I get so frustrated with it because I can never get this to work. And I don't actually understand why it doesn't work. There we go. So yeah, so you just press G. When it gives you the prompt, you press G and it gives you a write-up and a quick, simple how to set one of these up for automation. It's very clever. You can also use pattern providers, which is also pretty awesome, which is these dudes. This is the extended version. These are the standard versions. We're going to get into these in a second. But I just wanted to show you some basic stuff that I've picked up through being stubborn and wanting to learn Applied Energistics, because I always go for refined storage. But just lately, in the last couple of worlds that I've played, I've always gone down this road. It's easier in the Skyblock version because you don't have to go hunting for the Meteor to get the Certus and the crafting circuits for the inscribers. So it is a lot easier in Skyblock than it is in the normal world, but it's simple. It's very simple. So let's get chatting about Applied Energistics. Okay, so I just want to say a massive thank you for all of the subscribers that I've received over the last couple of months, really. I know there hasn't been new content, and I apologise. My last video went out whilst I was on holiday in Canada. And then life happened when we got back. Unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to our elderly 16-year-old cat, Decca. A picture on the screen of her. She was beautiful. She went downhill quite quickly when we got home, and so we had to say goodbye. And then we had to then renovate the utility room because we then got kittens, and we got 3 of them. And I'll put a picture of those guys up. So there's 2 girls, 1 boy in the kittens, and they were rescued, and we decided to take all 3 in and look after them. They're absolutely hilarious, let me tell you, and I'll talk more about them in future videos, but that was why we've been absent on this channel. So a massive thank you for everybody that's taken the time to subscribe and watch my content. So let's start with the basics of what you need for Applied Energistics to work. It really isn't that complex. You need a controller. Okay, so let's stick a controller down just there. We can get rid of that. You don't really need any panels if you're going to go straight down the road of a crafting terminal, but I like to have this before I get the wireless because the wireless just makes it simple. You need some flux cable. So if we go flux cable, no, not flux. Where are we? I know what we'll do. Applied cable. So it's these here. This is the basic one. And you need some quartz fiber. So Fluix crystals you can grow, or you can charge Certus quartz and some Fluix dust, or you can create it in some water. Again, very, very simple. I can show you this if we get time. And then that gives you your basic cable. I've just got the white version here because I've gone with all the white cables to show them off. So let's go and stick a cable over here and put one up like that. And let's get the crafting terminal, and we'll stick that on. So the beauty of these are you can stick them literally anywhere. If I want, I can put it back on this side. So I'm looking into the controller, which is really quite funky. But we're not going to do that. For this, we are just going to sit here and pop it there. So now we've got a controller, we've got our screen and a little bit of cable. So we do need power. So you can just run your power straight in, it's fine, but it's not ideal. You need an energy acceptor. Basically what this little block does is it takes any other energy source, so refined RF, KE, whatever else there are, and it turns it into a readable energy source for our Applied Energistics system. Let's put this on our network, like so. And there we go. Now it's live. Ta-da! We have ourselves an Applied Energistics system, albeit very basic. So that is really all you need to get started. They are not expensive. In the overworld, or the normal All the Mods 9, you need to have a compass to go find a meteor. So you need to make a charger, which is really, really cheap. You make a charger, you then stick a normal compass in that charger, it then turns it into a Meteor Compass. Chargers look a little bit like this here. There is no graphical user interface for it. It is just you stick it in and off it goes. So if we get a compass, there we go, compass, and then we stick it there, you see it just goes in, and then it's done, and there is your Meteor compass. So this would then, in the overworld, point you towards the nearest meteor. You may find them whilst you're out exploring. That's great. Put a waypoint there so you know where you're going back to, or just make a compass. Either one. You need to find that meteor. Get yourself some Certus from that meteor. Get all the circuits for printing your circuits for all of your Applied Energistic stuff. Really, it's the foundations of pretty much everything within Applied Energistics. Let's get these up. What are they called? So these are the things that you are going to print within your inscribers. If we just go into here, So yeah, they're presses. So these are the presses that you will find. You'll get 4 presses from it, and you can make some others, but you get 4 presses, and they then turn into your circuits to then make your other Applied Energistic machines. So it's very, very important to go and find that Meteor. So back to our little Applied Energistic system. Now I can click on this. There's nothing there. I can't put anything in because there is no storage for this to go into. So we have disk drives with AE2, but disk drives are expensive. To get your drives, they start to get quite pricey. I mean, you can get 1 kilobyte ones. Nope. There we go. So I should have probably got these out before I started looking, shouldn't I? There we go. So you need the item cell housing, which is pretty simple. You need quartz glass. Again, pretty simple. You just get some of the quartz and make it dust. You then need your disk or your storage component. And in this case, you need some charged Certus or Certus, and you need your logic processor. That is where your inscribers come in. So you can see it starts getting a bit pricey when you start thinking of 1K drives. 1K is not very much, let me tell you. And now let me introduce you to my old favorite, functional storage. We discussed functional storage in the refined storage system with no drives. It works exactly the same with Applied Energistics. So let's grab ourselves a controller and come over here, and we can plop that down there. I just want to see if it copied. No, it didn't. Right, okay, so we can get rid of that one. And this is controlling those. So if I look into here, you can see we have 1,000 of each of those, and we have 64 of them. So if we look over here, we have 64 and 1,000 of all of them. Nice and easy. Easy peasy. So that is just transferring through from that ender chest into refined storage, into Applied Energistics, into the functional storage. It's an awesome, awesome system. So to get you up and running, this is definitely the way forward. So what we'll do is we'll take a couple of those out, and we will just plop a few down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like so. I need to get the tools. So that one, that can go, and that one. So we got to shift and right click with the linking tool. That puts this kind of bounding box. So this controller can control any of these drawers anywhere in this bounding box. You can increase that range, which I'm happy to show also. So you need to link it so it looks like that. So now all those drawers are linked to this storage controller. Now again, we shift and right click with the locking one, and that locks all of our drawers. Before we link it to anything, we lock it because we don't want to just fill up with a whole load of junk. So let's get rid of some of those. We'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go and grab some items. Let's get 64 of those. And what we will do is we will put 1 in there. So at the moment, you can see nothing. There's nothing there, nothing to see. So let's get a cable. So I'm going to talk about some cables in a moment, but you have the basic sort of glass cables, tells you not very much at all, does 8 channels. You then have smart cables, covered cables, dense smart dense cables, and covered dense cables. So they all do different things. I will talk about that in a second. So we'll grab one of them, and we want a storage bus, which is exactly like refined storage, whereas they have a storage controller. This is exactly the same. So on that side there, we'll pop our storage bus, and then in the middle we'll stick a cable. Now, lots of people get hung up on the fact that there's channels. You've got to worry about channels. You've got to do this with channels. And sure, they are restricting. Whereas refined storage, there is no restrictions on the cable. You can put as many items on there as you like. Wrong button. But Applied Energistics, you do need to consider how many items you put on cables. And I've got a demonstration over there for you to see in a second. So I'll show you that in a moment. But this is a device. Okay, if you consider this storage bus is a device, the same way as that charger is a device, these pattern providers and crafters are all devices, and this crafting module is a device. So each one of them is showing up as one, except for this little block, they are 8, because there are 8 pattern providers in there. But we'll get to that in a second. So this is one device. So you look at your cable, and in the smart tool at the top, it tells you you are using one of 8 channels, and the device is online. So on this cable, we can have 8 devices. So that could be 8 storage buses, a couple of storage buses, a couple of exporters, importers, or a couple of inscribers, whatever. As long as we don't go over 8 by the time it gets back to this controller, we are laughing. But we are using 1. So what this storage bus is doing is it's reading this storage controller, which is telling it, I've got all these drawers and that's what's in it. So that's simply all that's doing. I always give this a higher priority. Doesn't matter right now because that's the only storage it's got. But when you start adding disk drives, you want to start sort of, if you've got your redstone essence already piling into here, you don't want to then have it going into drawers. Just leave it to go into here. It's fine. It's bulk storage. It's great. It's cheap. To upgrade them, they're cheap. Whereas your drives are going to cost you a lot more money. So have all your big bulk items going into functional storage and have all the more nitty-gritty stuff into your drives. It's great. So yeah, this is reading this and it's got a higher priority. So when you dump stuff in, it will try to send it to that before it goes to your disk drives. So let's have a look. And there it is. There's R1. There's R1. So if I then take 32, there is 33. You can see there, 33 essence is sitting in there. There we go, 33 essence. So when people get all about Applied Energistics being terribly expensive and it's really complicated and all of the other stuff that they talk about, because they are fanboys of refined storage, and don't get me wrong, it is a great system, just very simple. That's simply all Applied Energistics is just being mindful of how many machines you've got running on your cable and what device you've got connected. Easy. Now let's go and have a little look at some examples over there. So back over onto this big monstrosity of a build that I've put here. I've just done this because each face of one of these controller blocks gives you 32 channels. Now bear in mind what we've just done over here. That one cable is giving us 8. But I could put a big cable on it, like this dense smart cable. So if I go and chuck this over here and put that on here, you can see that's linked to this cable here and is telling me it's got one of 32 channels. So I can run 32 machines or storage buses or whatever off of this cable. But you do need some of the small smart cables to run off to run your machine. They don't sometimes connect. So it's easy just to run a bit like this one here. Little smarts into the big one. So each face gives you 32. So the more controller blocks you have, the more opportunity you have to run more things from it. And you don't just have to run cables. If your pack you're playing has extended AE, you have the opportunity to run wireless connectors, which is linked to that one there. I'll show you those again in a second as well. But for now, we're looking at cables. So your face has the ability to take 32 channels per face. So that's, as you look at this sort of build here, this multi-structure, I have a lot of faces that I can cable off of, which means I can cable off to quite hundreds of machines just from this tiny little structure. Now you can build this however you like. It don't have to be a cube. It could just be some spikes, a bit like these up here. It could be anything, your imagination, but there are a limit. And again, I'll look for that and put it in the description down below. So looking at our cables here, we've got a standard smart cable which can carry 8 channels. So if we look at these cables over here, this is our glass one, which is our beginning cable. That's the one that's running these here, and the one I've used over there to run that. You've then got a covered cable. Now, a covered cable is great. It's a bit cheaper than the smart, But when you look at it, it doesn't tell you how many of the machines are connected or how many channels you're using. So if I'm honest, if I've got to this level of the cables, I would just carry on and get to the smart cable, simply because you can see simply by looking at it how many free channels you have, and they do it in the dense as well. So you got that one there, which is the dense covered, and then you've got the dense smart, which then obviously tells you you've got 0 of 32 channels of used. So these are the sort of the cable ranges, if you like. You get multiple colors. You can color these in whatever color you like. Two colors don't match, like they won't touch each other. However, if you are running cables like I'm running here, you can put these cable anchors in. They just simply sort of connect, and then that stops me from being able to connect that cable to that. So if I place any of these cables here, none of them will connect because that cable anchor is there. So it allows you to separate out your cables that are running back to your controller. So yeah, if you look at these are all just storage buses here. There is 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we look at the cable as it goes into the block, 8 of 8 channels. However, if we come back up here, this one's telling me there's only 1 of 8 channels used. That's because it's in a sequence. So if we come back over here, we're a 7 here. So this cable here has got 7 channels being used, because this one's attached to it, and then all of those are attached to it. So that's why 7 have used. So number 8 is this one, and then that means my cable is then full. I can't add any more devices onto the end of this cable because it's full. There's nothing more I can add to it. It will not turn the device on. Whereas you've got your dense smart cable. I can see there I've used 32 of 32 channels. So then all of these storage buses, there's 32 of them all the way down. That's how many machines I can run off of one dense cable. So you can see its potential. So if we take the storage bus and we break that, so we've got no devices online, but if we go to the next one, 1. So then if we come back down here, that should now tell me 31 is used because I've just taken 1 away. However, if I want, obviously you don't have to run them like this. I can run this out here somewhere, and I don't know, let's go over here and up here a little bit, and then over here, and then I stick my storage bus on, give them the system a minute to boot. So as you can see, I've got 1 of 8 channels used, and then I've got 1 of 32 used here. But then if I go all the way down here, I am back to 32 channels. So even though I've got channels available here, I've got 7 channels. You can't use it for any more because this channel or this cable that's going into the controller's face is maxed out. There's 32 on it. So you have to keep that in mind, that even though you can extend it out with all these lovely cables, it is still only 32 machines that can run off of this one face with a dense cable. I hope that kind of explains channels a little bit easier for people and make it a bit more understandable as to what they are. But yeah, that is basics of channels. So another thing that I want to show you is how to do crafting, auto crafting. A bit like Refined Storage with their little 1-block crafters. You make a pattern, put it in, and off it goes. It is the same principle, but just in a bit of a bigger scale. When I first learnt about Applied Energistics, this is what I was using. Now, I am 100% aware to all of those people that are going to go in the comments and say, that's not the best configuration. There are better configurations. I'm sure there are. This is the configuration that works well for me. And when I build, I like to have these kind of easy to build rectangles. They fit into my builds very well. But if you're that concerned, there are plenty of videos that show you better configurations for your pattern providers. This is the original one that comes with the Applied Energistics system, as you can see up in the toolbar. This is a pattern provider. This is a molecular assembler. This is the thing that builds your item. In here, you can see you have a very few slots for your patterns to go in. However, you do have a lot of them. You have 8 blocks here. You have 8 of those availabilities. And as you can see on our cable that runs back to the face of our controller, there are 8 of 8 channels used because you've got 8 pattern providers. It doesn't count the molecular assemblers, it is only the pattern providers. So as you can see, we have 8 of 8. Now, again, if you've got extended AE, you can get the extended versions of those. So extended molecular assemblers and pattern providers. Now, bear in mind how many we have here, like so. In here, we have 3 extra lines. Now, that's quite cool to be seen. So in here, this is where you're able to then see what's in these as your patterns and put patterns in, take them out. This is your extended. Okay, so that's this one here. I have all this space. So I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then I get the original. And this is all the space you have for that whole block versus this block. You have all this space as opposed to this. Not a lot. So when you have this, and you can just go straight for this, saves you a whole load of effort. These are great, but go for these. It's so much better. Extended AE gives you this wireless controller, which is pretty awesome. I wonder if this is going to keep it bound. No, it's not. Great. So when you craft these, you get 2, simply because you are crafting one for one place, one for another place. So if I go, I don't know, let's go here. That is where this little tool comes in. You will need to make this. This is an extended AE2 wireless setup kit. And you need to bind it to the block. So you shift, right click to clear it away. Yeah, because I've just used that. I've cleared the settings, and then just right click on it, and then come back up to your block here, and then right click on it, and see that nice little purple AE coloring. It is now showing here. Now what that does for us is allows us to transfer stuff from our main system wirelessly to a whole new system. So if I run just some smart cables out here, and then I stick, what should we stick on here? Let's put an inscriber. So here's our inscriber. Oh, I went to the wrong place, sorry. There's our inscriber, and then we put it here. And then let's grab ourselves one of these pattern providers. Now you can make it just a big block. You can also plop it in. I don't have a crafting thing in here, do I? No. You can put these into a crafting table. Let's get one out so I can actually show you what I'm talking about, not just rabbiting on. So same with the originals, and any other full-size block like this. You can come in here, put it in, and it'll make you a flat version. So if your builds are wanting a flat version rather, you can then do that. However, for this, I'm just going to make it a block. So as you can see, the block is there, and as you can see, we are using 1 of 8 channels. That's because this is connected to this, and this is connected to our network. That block will give us 32 channels back out of it. It's incredible the way that it sort of gives us this wirelessly, and it's infinite. You can go and put that 10,000 blocks away if you like. It will still do it as long as this is chunk loaded. So now if we go back over to our pattern access terminal, you see we've got the extended module crafter. We now can see our inscriber and then the old assembler. So we can now see the pattern provider that is attached to that inscriber. It's so cool. So you can automate your inscribers wirelessly with these blocks. And yes, they do take up a face, but you are getting 32 channels back over there. So it is awesome. I am not running any creative power on this whatsoever. I have set up a simple flux network, which is running on these power reactors, like I have shown in a previous video, linked in the card above, and also in the description. But these nitro reactors are what's giving me my power. And as you can see, there's 1500 coming out of that one, and this one is just bouncing a little bit, giving me the 1500. This is all running from the Mystical Agriculture Farm. Again, I can link that up the top. And this power is then transferring wirelessly through that flux plug into my AE system. Now you got to be thinking there's a lot attached to my AE system here. That's got to be taking a lot of power. Yeah, it is. Just right click on any face of your controllers and you can see what you've got attached to your network. It's really cool. 72 controllers I've got on here. So quite expensive. And then I'm using about 580 KAE. That's, I think it's 1 or 2 RF per KEE. So it's using quite a lot. So that's where that 1500 number comes into play. So I'm not using any wireless or creative to prove that you can run something as complex as what we've got here running off of a nitro reactor. It's only one of them running, and it's sustaining this quite well. Now, on the subject of our pattern providers, these are purely what holds the pattern and creates the pattern, or creates the item that you're crafting. You need crafting storage. And these are, for all intents and purposes, RAM for your computer. That's basically what these are doing. And there are different tiers, and there are also mega tiers that start at 1 million, I think it is. These are 256. Each block here is 256. You need at least a co-processing unit and at least one crafting storage unit. It's not very powerful, but that's all you need to get started. You can get the lower versions of these. I think it goes down to 1Ks, I think, if memory serves me. But you will need those because these won't craft without those. And to see those in action, you can come into your terminal, and I'll show you the wireless one in a minute. And this little hammer here, up in the top right hand corner, you can click that, and these are all the CPUs I've got connected to my machine. And you'll see the status of what it's doing here as it's going. Equally, you can see here what each one of these are doing. Now, you don't have to have these. I've put these on just to show you. This is a crafting monitor, and it will show you what it's crafting here. So you can see exactly which one of these is crafting your item. So when you're clicking in here, each one of these is related to one of these. So these are just a quick visual thing to see which one's doing what. Now, another misconception I've seen is that they have to be attached to the controller. They have to be on top of the controller or along the side or wherever. Again, is not true. As long as you've got a cable, these will run off of a normal smart cable. You can run it on that smart cable because we are literally using one of the channels that it provides. And then put it up. And there it goes. Boom. There's your crafting storage. Running off a cable, not attached to your controller. So this is defunct. It's here. It's lit up. You can see it's working. Tells me that the device is online. It'll only tell me the device is online if it connects to this. So just keep that in mind when people are telling you can't do things. You probably can. So that is where your crafting will come from. So your patterns will then go in here, or you can access them here. It's exactly the same as refined storage. Here is your crafting system. There's your patterns, and it spits it out when you click it. And it will know whether or not it's a processing, a smithing, or whatever. It's very clever. Now, the sort of last few things I want to talk about is wireless. A lot of people complain about the AE system because it doesn't give you very much distance for your wireless. Now, you have to have a wireless access point. Even if you are going to go down the route I'm going to show you in a minute, you will still need a wireless access point. And the reason you're going to need that is because your wireless crafting terminals, or whatever terminal you end up getting, Universal One, whatever, you will have to put in your aerial access point and sort of link it, combine it, so it knows that this is the system it's talking to. If you don't have a way to player manage your charging, you can then put your wireless crafting terminal into a charger, and you can see up in the little tooltip at the top, it tells you at the bottom, just above Applied Energistics, it's 100% charged. And then you just right click it to bring your terminal back. Perfect. So I now have access on the go with my wireless crafting terminal. I went for the crafting terminal because I can craft on the go. Easy peasy. Now you do need these. So these stack. These are wireless boosters. Okay, and if we go into here, by default you can get 16 meters or 16 blocks away from your aerial with your access point. And if we start adding these, 17, 18, 21, so they progress, but they are giving more and more power usage to them. So again, you've got to consider your power for this. However, once you are getting through your gameplay, you're going to need singularities because you need those for your star. And that is where getting into the quantum ring really comes into play. These are really designed to go cross dimension because this singularity here is linked to another singularity, and I'll show you how to get those in a second. And then you put one in here, one in, say, the end, and then you put the other sort of quantum entangled in that one. And then you've got 32 channels running off of that in the end. However, there is a much better use for the quantum ring. Now, this can go flat, it can go up there flat, it can go wherever you like, as long as you connect it to the controller block. Now notice the interesting thing that it's not using any of the channels. That's because we are not pulling back out of it in another dimension, or even in this dimension. We are not pulling back off of that. So it's not actually using a channel, which is really quite cool. So I have 32 channels on this cable to do whatever I please. However, now we've got this quantum ring and we've got our quantum entangle singularities. I'll show you how to get those in just 2 seconds. You can go to your wireless terminal, create yourself a quantum bridge card. I believe they are quite expensive. Quantum bridge card, yeah, so you need fluix basically. So 2 fluix pearls, some dust, that's just an ender pearl. And then you need to make this wireless receiver, which is pretty cheap, really. I guess in the grand scheme of it, it's quite cheap. And then you pop that in to that slot. They've all got them, these AE2, they've got these slots. And then you pop your other singularity into the slot. So you see I've got access, and then I've got no access because I've gone past my 16 blocks away, and they'll come back. There it is. So if I then take my singularity, I can then go all the way out here, all the way out here. I can even go into the nether and use it. So let's go and do that. So in the nether, still got access. How cool is that? And that is infinite. You can go all the way to the world's border end. As long as this system is kept chunk loaded, this powers wherever you go. The end, the nether, twilight, everywhere. It's really, really cool. So to get, this is what this little hole is, to get your singularity, your entangled, you need some of these. Let's get rid of these. We don't need these now. You need ender dust of some form. I think it's ender dust. Yes, there we go. So ender dust, you need some of that. That's simply done by putting it into an inscriber, an ender pearl into an inscriber, and that gives you some of that. You need TNT, so we'll grab some TNT, and then just a way to ignite it. So we'll grab some buttons. So let's place down some TNT there, and we'll chuck one of them and one of them on the floor. Button, push it, and then we'll step back. Right, boom, like that. And there is our entangled singularities. Now, these will only work with each other. They are linked. So when you're doing things that require them, make sure that you only have the 2 that are entangled used. So I've got one in there and one in my wireless. They are entangled. I can't then put another entangled in here and expect my wireless controllers to work. So you need to keep that in mind. So back to our little sort of setup here, just to make sure that this is all working as it should. Let's separate them, and then we'll stick those down in there. Why not? 29. And there we go. There's our 29 dirt, and then I can stick those in there. So what's that? 122, and there's our 122 dirt. This is by far the most awesome storage system that I use, and I'm sure there are lots of others that are really cool. I really like the bookworm from Ars. I'll show that in another episode another day. But when you start getting into this and you start getting your resources building up, you can then come into the disk drives. So I've got 2 normal disk drives here. These are Applied Energistics ones. And again, when you run a cable, they only show up as 1 drive each. So that should only be 2 channels used. There we go, 2 channels, 2 of 8, because you've got 2 drives. It doesn't matter that you can put 10 drives in there. You are only using 2 channels. Now these are the extended AE, a bit like the wireless one and the extended patterns. This one gives you 2 banks, and they work exactly the same as these ones, except it doubles up the amount of drives you can put in there. And again, if we chuck a cable onto here, so that device is online, that one's online, that and that's online, and I'm still only using 4 channels. So I can fit so many drives into these drive housings, and create loads and loads of disks and storage. Perfect. It's such an awesome system to be into. If you have any questions about how to run a basic setup of Applied Energistics, please do let me know. I am still learning this system myself, but I wanted to share the easy basics that really help out early game and get people into it. Now I know this has been a bit of a longer video, but Applied Energistics is quite a long subject. So yeah, it is what it is. My next video will not be as long, I promise, and we'll be starting to mix in some of all the mods 9 to the Skyblock, and some little tricks and hacks that I found for doing that, because I'm playing through that for the second time at the moment. So I just want to share a few tricks and tips from that. But as for this video, I hope something in here has helped guide you through taking the plunge into Applied Energistics. If you have any questions about what you've seen here today, please do drop them into the comments, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye now.